All right, going to call a meeting to order for the Policies and Priorities Committee meeting for Monday, December 11th, 2023. Before we do approval of the agenda, we're going to do presentations of service awards. So I want to take the opportunity to thank majority of the community center staff for coming over. They were unable to attend the awards banquet and Christmas party last Saturday. Sorry, there's been a few. So just want to thank them very much for being able to come before council. It was kind of something we put in front that we make sure you come so we could thank you for your long service. I know senior staff will do the presentation, but we have Darlene Kalovic for 10 years, Tom Tobin for 25 years, Joy McKay, 25 years, and Ken McEachran for 30 years. So that's 30. 35? Oh, Janelle Fontaine, I didn't see her. That's why I didn't mention her name. I just didn't see her in the gallery. But again, just want to take the opportunity on behalf of Mayor and Council to thank you to see that many years of service with the District of Tumbler Ridge. I think it's outstanding. We got to recognize the other district employees at the awards banquet and Christmas party. So that's why we asked for you to come before Council to receive your awards. Ms. Dorval, I'll let staff take it over.
Thank you, Worship. I'll start with Tom Tobin. Tom starting October 25th, 1998, and he was a casual, and now he's a full-time facility maintenance. Tom, there you go. So Tom is the guy that knows everything about woodwork and really knowledgeable. Tom, please come over. All right, the next one is Joy McKay. Joy started as an instructor. She was a casual, and she started in September 18, 1996. And now she's our facility manager. Joy is a person that knows everything about the community. Every time I have a question, Joy, help me out here. All right, the next one is Darlene Kalovic. She has been with us for 10 years. She started as a clerk, casual, in July 2nd, 2013, and now she's our full-time admin 3. She's the one that's really helpful, and she's really nice with the customers. She knows everything about our reception and admin. So, Darlene. And last but not least, Cam McKern. 30 years. He started as a summer student in August 20, 1990, and he is now our facility maintenance foreman, full-time. Ken, he knows about every single thing in all the buildings. So he's the guy that something happens in the museum, he knows about it. So I don't think we could do our job without him. Come over, buddy.
Congratulations, Ken. Very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just want to take the opportunity to thank staff for doing that. Again, that's 4 people that were in attendance, and it's 90 years of service between all 4 of them. So again, thank you very, very much for sticking with the district and doing a great job. From Mayor and Council, we appreciate it. Okay, I'll take approval of the agenda, please. Councilor Norbury.
That all items in the December 11th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for November 14th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Councilor Norbury.
That the November 14th, 2023 Policies and Priority Committee meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, Council? Ms. Torval? Okay, presentation delegations. We have urban systems. Edward Stanford and team in attendance to share the history and planning of engineering consulting services provided to the District of Tumbler Ridge, as well as diversifying the practice of the areas. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. My name is Edward Stanford with Urban Systems, and the team are going to introduce themselves individually. So thank you for the opportunity for inviting us down. We have been working with the district since before you were a community. April 1982 is the first project number we took out regarding Tumbler Ridge, and we've been working here ever since. Really looking forward to this opportunity to share with Council some of the history of working with the community. So we'll pass that over to Chad.
All right, so some quick introductions to start things off. My name is Chad Carlstrom. I'm an engineer with Urban Systems. I first started working with the district in 2011 and have been involved in a number of projects since. I actually spent quite a bit of time in Tumbler Ridge with my family. My in-laws since retired and jointly own a home in Tumbler Ridge with them. So Tumbler Ridge is dear to my heart in addition to some of the past projects.
Thank you, Chad. And as I say, my name's Edward Stanford. Been working, I live up in Fort St. John, been working with the community since 2000 as diverse projects as your OCP and runway lighting and TLE, those types of projects. I'm an urban designer and love hanging out here with the family.
My name is Jaren Mackey, and I am a landscape architect with Urban Systems. I first started working with Urban in 2015, and I've had the opportunity to work with the district since my very first term as a summer student. And have had the chance to work with most of the team up here and others in our Fort St. John office on numerous projects.
Thanks. I'm Kevin Hunt, also an engineer in training with Urban Systems. I've been with Urban Systems for about a year now, but I've been in Fort St. John, calling it home, for 3 years. Generally, I tend to work in some smaller municipalities. That includes Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, Hudson's Hope, Northern Rockies. That's kind of where I've enjoyed my time here. Most recently, I've been working with Jason Bradley, getting some budget numbers for 2024 road and parking lot repaving, so you've probably seen those come across your desk. Personally, what interests me with Tumbler Ridge is all of the new mountain biking infrastructure. So the photo up there is at your grand opening of trails in October of just this year. So my wife and I have always come down the last 3 years, make a trip a few times a year for camping. You have obviously great hiking trails, but I now come down for all the mountain biking.
Oh.
Hi, my name's Catherine Rutherford. I'm a community planner with Urban Systems. I just started in May. I'm a recent graduate of a tourism management degree, so I've really got introduced because I'm a local to the Peace region. I grew up in Charlie Lake, just outside of Fort St. John, and then I even worked with the district before I started with Urban Systems, as I worked at the visitor center in Fort St. John, and we did a lot of collaboration with your guys' visitor center over the years. And then my family also are loyal Emperor Challenge runners, so I'm here as their support staff, as I don't run it, but love coming down here. And then this year I started working with the District of Tumbler Ridge through their BC Northeastern BC Collaborative Accessibility Plan through Urban Matters.
Great. And occasionally you might see Urban Matters and Urban Systems. We are much of the same, although there are some differences. So Urban Matters was set up in 2016 as a community contribution company, special legislation that the BC government brought in at that time with a big focus on social impact. And so a lot of the Urban Matters work that you'll see is more related to social infrastructure, whereas urban systems work is related to more of the physical infrastructure, but really combined together. We are here and we've built the services that we provide just solely based on communities and making sure that communities, local governments, all their needs can be met. So our approach that we take to work is sometimes a little bit different than some other firms. So we are very much relationship-based, and we take a lot of pride in that. Up here is some of the pillars of the approach that we take when we do engage with our clients on projects. We really focus on working with you instead of just for you. And so through that, there is a lot of collaboration, a lot of listening and understanding, especially with our deep history. We're able to take that knowledge through into future projects. And really solutions-based focus as well.
So this map, we have a hard copy for you for afterwards, for bedtime reading, but it just gives an example of the extent of some of the work that we're doing across Western Canada. And I'd like to highlight, the BC piece, and we've been up in Fort St. John for almost 35 years. As I say, been working with Tumbler Ridge since 1982, and you weren't the first client up here because that was the Peace River Regional District, originally the Peace Liard Regional District, but we do work with all the municipalities and all the Indigenous communities in the area. And that's just an example of some of the communities that we're working with at the moment. You might recognize this. This is some of the photographs from actually your front hall. And these were some images that Ron Nasadik back in 1983, he's actually in the center. He did the original cut line, survey line to bring the first highway in to create Tumbler Ridge. We were here from the very beginning doing some of the original layout and design for the community and have been here ever since. So a long history in the community.
Yeah, some of the past projects that we've been involved with include some trails construction. That top left, that's the Visitor Center Interpretive Trail. The water treatment plant, not only the original design, but also a significant upgrade that happened in 2011. We've helped you out on a number of road projects, active transportation projects, so the trail construction, entrance signs, the boat launch upgrade at the Murray River, also supported in that a number of years ago. And when it comes to reports and some studies that help build and grow your community, so the Parks and Recreation Master Plan undertook that, and the Child Care Report. So that was done through Urban Matters, but that report was really out of a time when the district was in need of more childcare spaces, provincial funding grants available. So, reports like these can really help align the district with grant funding money that is out there. Other reports that we've helped support with on asset management, communities all across British Columbia need to know what their assets are, the condition that they are in, and then plan for their future rehabilitation into the future. And we've done quite a bit of asset management work in the past, whether from the roadways, the whole, and the utilities beneath them, to things like the bear walks or your stormwater systems. And then some other areas that we've helped support the district on is within the economic development realm. And so, the district, you do own quite a few parcels within the community. And so it's helping to understand what could be developed on those parcels and helping to market that out to the broader community for future financial interests.
And just a few other past projects on the public realm design side of things. One of those being the cemetery, which we had the opportunity to start from concept planning for that expansion and worked with staff to come through detailed design and construction of those first few phases. Also, lots of opportunities with the cemetery in the future that were captured in that original report and concept, such as green burial, scattering gardens, things like areas for pet burials, and yeah, really lots of different services and opportunities in that realm. And one of the other projects was an update to the downtown design guidelines, so focusing on things like built form, public realm elements, again, the circulation, gathering spaces, landscape, really helping to create a vision for a cohesive, unified downtown streetscape and public realm, and really tying all of those things together. I'll turn it back to Chad to expand a bit more on some of those.
Yeah, so looking ahead, some things that we see for the District of Tumbler Ridge is that picking up on those downtown design guidelines, your downtown has a great structure to it in envy of most communities, and so lots of potential there to keep things going and build on some of that momentum and projects of the past. Some other things that we're seeing as potential projects into the future for Tumbler Ridge is active transportation. The BC government is promoting that strongly throughout the whole province. And there's lots of grant money available to communities. And so, we've seen a big uptick all across the province in projects like that. And then just general rehabilitation. You know, as Edward mentioned, Tumbler Ridge was built in 1982 and almost overnight. And so you do have unique challenges when it comes to your infrastructure because a lot of it is aging right around that same time.
So, although I do a lot of engineering and helping Chad out during the day, Urban Systems really lives by the motto spirit and service for vibrant communities, and kind of shows through their urban foundation. So a bulk or a portion of our profits at the end of the year through Urban Systems are transferred to the Urban Foundation, registered charity to help support youth, especially in the lower income realms where financial barriers are an issue. And you might recognize Ryder up there in the middle. So a few years ago, we helped Tumbler Ridge fundraise for his new wheelchair. And it goes beyond that. So within the Northeast Peace region, we support all our local communities through the foundation. A lot of the times we like to partner with a charity or an organization that is well established, so we can provide volunteers, a little bit of financial contribution, and help out within the community there. It's also an urban-wide and national charity organization. So this year, we're helping out fundraising for Elephant Thoughts, again, to help youth and create a new kitchen space for Indigenous youth with financial barriers to grow there. Last year, our fundraising goal was $10,000 to be matched by the foundation. We raised almost $40,000, so hopefully we can beat that again this year.
So that brings us to the end of our presentation. We're very open to any discussion or questions that you might have.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Thanks for coming up and bringing the team. I know yourself and Chad quite familiar with both you, but it's nice to meet the rest of your team. Council, have any questions, comments? Councillor Julik?
He knew already and gave me the red button. I just wanted to say I learned something. I didn't realize there was Urban Matters, and apparently you're helping some folks with a strategic plan, and I was like, well, it's Urban Systems, it's not Urban Matters, so now I know the difference. Really great presentation. It was really cool to see the history with your organization, with the town. I'm nostalgic, so it was really cool to see the old pictures, and makes me think I should go hit the archives, and which is accurate because we have the TRMF here tonight. Also, in regards to Kevin, that fellow with the black cap with the blue on there, that is our TRMBA guy, so he's the guy you might want. Curtis, he used to sit on this side of the mic as well, so thanks so much for making the trip down and giving us all the good info. Thanks.
Councilor Norbury?
Thanks, Mayor Kukalka. Thanks, everyone, for coming down to meet us face-to-face. I heard you guys are helping Fort St. John out with a sidewalk project. Do you think I can glean a little bit of insight on how you managed to mitigate instances of cross-ownership? Maybe squeeze a little free advice out of you?
Sure. Well, maybe I can speak to that because over the past 4 years, I have been supporting the city of Fort St. John in their downtown revitalization project. And, when the interface between the public realm comes up to the private realm, things do get a little bit tricky. There's some gray areas. It usually takes a lot of conversation and communication with the business owners. But there are ways that we've been able to work with them. And oftentimes, the public doesn't know where that legal boundary is. And so for the benefit of the street and for the project of a whole, sometimes the limits of construction will extend beyond the actual road right-of-way. But that's all in the intent of getting the end product and the benefit. And it provides better pedestrian connectivity, often between the street and the sidewalks, and then the entrances that these users need to get to. And so, yeah, the lines do get blurred when you're working in like a downtown, densely constructed area. But in the end, I would recommend that you keep the vision of what you're trying to achieve in mind and work towards that.
Thanks.
Any other questions from council? All right, I don't have any questions, but again, I want to thank you guys for coming up and meeting face-to-face with council. Appreciate DBCM. You were able to meet with a couple councilors, so that started the conversation again. And then knowing that you have the charity, I think it's great. And to help Ryder out, I think that's fabulous. Yeah, well-deserved young man in town here. Thank you very much. All right, 5.2, Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation. Zena, Conlin, Executive Director, in attendance to update council on museum highlights, provide background and opportunity to answer questions in anticipation of the 4-year funding agreement renewal. Rose College joining. Keith Bertrand. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us the time and privilege of presenting before you today. I am Rose College Snyder. Nowadays, in my days when I sat there, it was college, that's true. I'm not going to repeat what our executive director is more than capable to delivering to you, so we'll turn it over, and also our member Keith Bertrand of the board is present today to answer any questions after the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving us the opportunity to present to you this evening as we look to renew our funding agreement with the District of Tumbler Ridge for 2024 through 2028. Normally, we would be doing this at a regular meeting of council, but timing being is what it is, running into the holidays, we are here tonight. But before we dive into the funding side of things, I would like to go take this opportunity to share a few highlights from 2023. So our year started off with record-setting numbers. From January through May, we exceeded our 2019 visitor numbers, which were the highest we'd ever recorded to date. Up until June, we were trending to have one of the best years the museum has ever seen. Although we won't have a full account until January, I can say as of the end of November, our total visitor count is approximately 7% less than in even 2020, when we were closed for 3 months due to the pandemic. The impact of this year's wildfire was significant for us. Despite this, however, gift shop sales have remained strong and are up slightly over 2022. I would like to thank Mayor and Council providing the means and opportunity to travel to Victoria to meet with the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport, and to advocate for provincial support of fossil heritage and geotourism in Tumbler Ridge. School visits were up. We offered several summer programs and worked with researchers from across the province and beyond to improve the quality of data in our collection, continue fieldwork, and support new opportunities. In collaboration with the Grand Cache Visitor Center, the Philip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum, and the Exploration Place in Prince George, we launched our new Dino Trail marketing campaign, of which we're in the planning phase for 2024. Thanks to a grant from South Peace Mackenzie Trust, we were able to hire a collections manager, a key position that is allowing us to move forward with several collections projects. Additionally, his work includes assisting with actual physical collecting, managing all the fossil documentation and database documentation, coordinating research access, and assisting with outreach activities. In November, we held our first major fundraiser since my arrival and raised just over $5,800 to go towards some education room upgrades and have held 2 late-night shopping events in the lead up to Christmas. As we are currently working through year-end and our budget, additional details are to follow in our annual report to the district, which you'll receive at the end of February. Which brings us to our request for renewal of our funding agreement with the District of Tumbler Ridge. Our current agreement expires on February 28th of 2024. We are here to ask Mayor and Council for your support for a 4-year renewal of the same $220,000 per year from March 1st, 2024 through February 28th, 2028. We recognize that this agreement is outside the norm of the regular grant and aid process, so we're here to provide some background information on why this approach was taken and that first agreement came to be. So to get into the timeline a little bit. So in the spring of 2018, funding to the museum from the District Tumbler Ridge was withdrawn. The organization mounted a major fundraising campaign that allowed the museum to reopen for that summer. And then the district agreed to some funding support while participating in a facilitation process requested by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. CNG Communications were appointed to work with the District of Tumbler Ridge, the Peace River Regional District, the Tumbler Ridge Global Geopark Society, and the Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation to deliver a framework for collaboration. The priority initiative for the museum was to implement a new organizational and governance structure, and then work with the District of Tumbler Ridge to develop a long-term funding agreement. Additionally, a question of opinion to support continued funding was put to the residents of Tumbler Ridge during the 2018 municipal election, with an overwhelming result of 78% in favor. In 2019, the District of Tumbler Ridge approved a 1-year grant and aid, while the museum made the operational and governance structural changes that were required and began negotiating a multi-year agreement from March 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2024. We also developed our values, mission, and vision, and a strategic framework that now guides our decision-making. But of course, 2020 threw us some curveballs. A global pandemic and the loss of funding from the Peace River Regional District due to an internal policy compliance issue. Our survival was once again at risk, and it's only through government wage subsidies, a federally sponsored reopening grant we received in 2021, by not replacing departing staff immediately, 2 years of direct support from the District of Taylor, and our funding from the District of Tumbler Ridge, that we have survived the last 3 years. Federal summer employment funding was scaled back, inflation has significantly risen along with minimum wages, and we have been operating in survival mode. So what does survival mode look like? So for us, for most of this time, it looked like 2 staff members trying to do the full-time work of 6. Projects have been delayed as capacities diminished and stress has been chronically high. It means not attending conferences and other important meetings, less fieldwork, less research, less gallery development, less programming and public outreach. We have been working at our maximum and beyond to do the minimum we have needed to keep operations going. And then in October of 2022, the light at the end of the tunnel, with the residents of the Peace River Regional District voting in favor to approve the establishment of a grant and aid service bylaw, of which we will begin to receive funds in 2024. Our PRRD contract is for an initial 5 years. So with that, what does a renewed contract with the District of Tumbler Ridge enable us to do? So a lot of it comes down to leveraging funding. Many other grants, especially government, require proven long-term operational stability. But the majority of these grants are for projects and don't support core costs like wages and utilities. The support from long-term operational agreements makes our organization a solid investment. But to complete projects, we need people and we need to keep up with inflation. And so with your continued support, we'll be able to access new opportunities that we have had to pass over the last few years. In addition to stable operational funding, most other grant opportunities require some degree of matching investment. For example, there's an announcement 2 weeks ago of a new federally funded tourism growth grant, which will fund up to 65% of a 2-year project. But it's also a contribution grant. So in addition to matching 35%, we need to have the cash flow to pay up front and then submit for reimbursement. This is also one of the grants where we have to prove stability and include our funding agreements as part of the application process. If successful, it will have a major impact on our ability to offer tours, extend our season, and develop new sites for public accessibility. Weathering the storm. It seems every year there's a new, greater than anticipated challenge to work through. Pandemics, wildfires, inflation. Our best laid plans are easily foiled by aspects out of our control, but that severely impact our bottom line. Long-term funding agreements assist in alleviating the constant fear that we may not be able to weather the next storm. To right-size our staff, which doesn't mean we won't continue to need to wear many hats, but we can reduce how many each of us are wearing and make sure we're wearing the right ones. We'll also be able to supply employees with the tools, supplies, and training they need to do their jobs. And as the capacity for our staff to take on additional responsibilities increases, it will help relieve the bottleneck of the day-to-day operations and services that inevitably have become my full-time role. I will be able to allocate more time to the other responsibilities of my position in getting currently funded projects completed, finding and applying for those other grant opportunities, and working with the board and our partners to develop what are becoming critical long-term plans for growth and success, like infrastructure. So we know most of this council is new and we're not part of the work that went into developing a new type of funding agreement for the museum. I hope we've given you the background information you require to make the decision to continue supporting us through another 4-year contract. And with that, we're happy to answer any of your questions.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your delegation and getting everybody up to speed and up to date and what you had to deal with in the last 4 years. Pandemic, wildfires, all that stuff, whether it's the funding from the PRD, which obviously you mentioned will come back in 2024 for a couple of organizations in town. Questions from Council. Council Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. Thank you to the Museum Foundation for coming in. It's great to hear what you guys are doing, and you know, I know it's hard to talk about your struggles because you know, we want to look forward and we want to present the best part of us. But I mean, it's good to know like where you're at so that we can support you moving forward. When, you know, looking at the social infrastructure in our community, you know, the museum plays a vital role in being like the guardians of our history and our knowledge. So I absolutely understand and value what you all bring to the community because, you know, my time, you learn so much about the community and not just the dinosaurs, which is great, or Dr. Helm loves the crocodiles, you know, but the people that lived here long before, you know, there were homesteaders, there were trappers, there were pioneers that people know that you see on the community center walls. And that history is really interesting as well, you know, so. My question for you is, you spoke earlier about you have a little bit lower numbers. I'll start with the first one. Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think is prohibiting people from visiting the museum?
Well, this summer, I think it can, I mean, we don't have the data to report back on it. I know there's a few surveys. Northern BC Tourism has just done a big survey on tourism businesses and operators in the area, so we're hoping to get some information back from that. For us, I think because our wildfire here was very early in the season, and a lot of the messaging that went out, like it all happened right when people were kind of planning their summer vacations. So I think, people were reading the news and all of that and seeing that maybe we weren't a viable option for this year. And I also think anecdotally, like when I listen to my staff and them planning their trips, they really did take into account that, for a while we were still on alert. So they didn't want to go anywhere. They wanted to be here so they could evacuate. And a lot of other regions in British Columbia were on alert or evacuated. So it'll be, once I have a bit more of our visitor data parsed out and we can pull out that geographical information, I would be interested to see where our biggest drop was from. I have, my gut feeling says that we really dropped in BC visitors, as people were also were either evacuated or choosing to stay close to home because they were on alert. And I also think the wildfire smoke impacted. I think that's why our tour numbers were way down this year. We still, like our admissions were down by 20%, but our tours were down by 40%. And I think that's also because people didn't just want to be outside, they wanted to come in and just do the inside stuff as well. So I don't know. That would be my initial response to that without having a bit more data behind it.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mary. Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Like, who wants to come to an active fire zone or danger, right? So, and like with the smoke everywhere, you might be more inclined to stay home. And I don't particularly need like the exact data. I was in attendance for the that presentation by the university students about the tourism. Going back to maybe anecdotal from your guys' perspective, why are people coming to Tumbler Ridge? Like we've heard from the Geopark, we've heard from the that professor student, PhD student, excuse me. Yeah, what do you guys think?
It's a mix. The people that, we ask every person that comes into the museum, we ask them, what brought them here. And it's a mix of people that are coming hiking and they'll have a rain out day and come through the museum, or even just, an afternoon before they're heading out of town. We have people that definitely come for the museum. We had, not this summer, but last summer, we had several groups, and I remember this one couple from Florida. They were literally driving up the U.S. and up through Canada, stopping at all the dinosaur spots. That's why they were traveling, and that's why they made the trip here. So it's a mix. I think there's entry points from all different backgrounds and interests. So to kind of pinpoint one or the other is kind of I'd say is not really something that we can do through our data.
Thanks. I'm just hoping to hear a little bit of anecdotal, thoughts there. But I'll pass the mic because I see some other people want to chat with you. So thanks.
Councillor Julik?
Hi, thanks for coming. Lots of information there. I'm not sure that dinosaur is very happy with his costume, though.
He was that night.
All right. I was sorry to miss the beach party. It looked like a lot of fun. I got to stop in when the doctors' conference was on. Everybody, the excitement in that room was just beyond. And it really focused people on fossils because we picked one up at the beach because somebody saw something. And anyway, so that was really cool as well. I would say you have accomplished a ton of stuff. With very limited funds by the sounds of things. It was really cool to hear what is going on, and love the changes within the museum and all the excitement for people that when they still come, because I would say when I was running the RV park, there's a lot of dinosaur hunters out there and super excited to maybe find that fossil or whatever. So congratulations in that. And so will we be getting some numbers from... I'm looking at Mayor Grakowka. We'll be getting money. We'll be getting numbers requests later I'm guessing.
And they already requested what the amount was, but it'll be coming through staff. It'll come through
Alright.
staff
Yeah.
through budget process.
Okay, cool. Thanks again for coming in.
Councillor Noxena?
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. It's always really exciting to hear what you guys have going on. And how many schools come here just to take advantage of what the museum offers? I had to Google where Fort Ware was. I had no idea.
I did too when they booked.
That's a big distance that they traveled.
Yeah,
so
they-
really,
yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Is this something that our schools take advantage of? And how can we encourage them if they don't? Because
Actually,
geologists here.
so for 2023, we have not had any schools or classes from Tumbler. They've all been from Dawson Creek, Chetwynd, Fort St. John, Mackenzie, and Fort Ware. And we actually have a group coming in from Chetwynd on Friday. They're still booking and and coming in. I mean, I know our schools are aware of the programs. Whatever their barriers to coming, I don't quite know. We've heard for them cost is a barrier. But I also look at these schools coming in from other places and renting buses, and for them, they see the value in that. So I don't know how to get through that yet. But I'm also hoping, we also are very limited capacity. I'm the one running all the school programs right now as well. So I'm hoping once we get a programs coordinator that can really just focus on that and take that on and develop those education programs and perhaps, and develop programs that we can take into schools as opposed to schools always coming to us. Maybe there's a different type of flexibility or programming that they would be more interested in participating in.
Well,
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any more questions from council? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I did have one more. Do you have any plans for any future gallery displays upcoming? The reason why I say is that, I think this is a great opportunity for us to make it like a large event, promote it and get a bunch of people to come in and, I wouldn't say black tie, but, something fun. Is there any plans in the future for?
Well, that's been part of our capacity issue with really just kind of scaled back staff. We actually have funding to do a whole gallery renovation. And we started getting that funding 3 years ago. I just don't have a person to do it. So kind of looking forward, we're looking for a grant for that to bring in an exhibit designer or something like that to get that project going. But it really just that has straight up been a capacity issue for us.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would suggest maybe hanging out till the end of the meeting, and maybe when Urban System leaves, you can take an ear from them. Maybe they need that in their realm too, and maybe they're willing to help you out there. Any more questions from council? I was looking at Chad and he was nodding his head, so I thought I'd say it. So, I have a couple questions, and you hit on it in your thing. But summer students, how many summer students did you lose from your grant this year?
So for so we applied for 2 grants. So we applied to Young Canada Works, and that's for very museum-specific programs, and that one was our program assistant, which we were able to fill. For our other grant with Canada Summer Jobs, we applied for 3 positions. We were approved for 2, but because of the timing of everything, we were only able to fill 1 of them. The one, though, that was not approved was like a key position that we had to fill regardless of getting the grant or not. So for that position, we actually ended up having to sell a museum asset to pay for that position for the summer.
Okay. And the reason I asked that, I know other organizations within the community, they lost some too.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we reached out right away to Bob Zimmer to see if we could try to right the ship right away. And I think we got after it too late from our side. I mean, I heard about it too late too, but the district also lost. So we did, myself and Ms. Torval did reach out, had a meeting with Bob Zimmer here in town. It's just something I want to be on top of for 2024. So I know the Geopark is already submitting their letters and stuff. So if you do that, if you want to just add me to your email, just so I can keep hitting that pavement to make sure we try and get all those positions that, to me, are valuable. They're valuable for your organization, but also a value to the District of Tumbler Ridge to make sure we have all those people.
Yep.
So that you guys can continue on with all the stuff that you do, and you do lots. And I think you did lots this year, and I understand you, or even in the last 4 years, you think you haven't, but, I don't come to the museum every day, but I've been up to the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery quite a bit to have conversations. I mean, you guys are doing an amazing job up there, so I think you got to give yourself some credit too with your constraints and where you've gotten to. One thing I'll mention is that, and that's at the UBCM. I think just about every minister, whether it was with the DTR that met with ministry staff or ministers themselves, or through the PRD, I went to all the meetings. Everybody talked about the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery. Some have been to it, some are coming, some their grandchildren want to come. So it's well known that way too. I think we just got to keep our pulse on it, keep pushing. I appreciate that you joined us in Victoria. We didn't get what we wanted out of that full meeting yet, I don't think, but I think there's more to come out of that meeting, just from the meetings we've had at the UBC, and there'll be more coming to you guys, I think. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Tumbler Ridge Outdoor Recreation Association, TRORA. Ryan Lamming, TRORA President, intends to introduce TRORA to council and residents and present their 2023 annual report. Welcome.
First and foremost, thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting us speak. My name is Ryan Lamming. I'm just going to do a formal introduction. That's what we wanted to do, the whole premise behind this, just let everyone know what we're up to and what we're all about. Our focus is on collaboration for the best Tumbler Ridge outdoor recreation scenario, unifying efforts of the following recreation clubs. So we got some here right now. Jolene, I think everybody knows these people, but Jolene, I don't know if anybody knows Tim, but Tim Croston, Amanda, and Jenna over there in the corner. So representing Ridge Riders, Snowmobile Association, Wolverine Nordic and Mountain Society, Tumbler Ridge Mountain Bike Association, this guy right here, and then Grizzly ATV Club. Already did the introduction for the teams, but we'll go over what we're up against here. I'm flying, bud. Couple more. You're going backwards. All right. So collaborate and support outdoor recreation in Tumbler. That's the goal here. Let's get that going. Long-term planning and organizational stability. Lead the way in responsible outdoor recreation and environment conservation. Strategically enhance trails and enjoyment and accessibility. Develop high-value partnerships and advocate and plan for a sustainable future. That is not Curtis in that picture. That might be the urban guy, I don't know. I don't have a nice accent like that guy. He's way more captivating. I'll pass it off over to Curtis to finish up.
I could just read right off that now, couldn't I?
Yeah, here. I thought you did this before.
I've done this before.
Council?
Okay, on. Thank you. Okay, so so far we've engaged with stakeholders within the region, formalized the society, which is a big undertaking. I will talk about that briefly because the previous economic development officer was a huge role in in getting this going. And we also have Jesse Olson continuing on with us as well. So this is not just everybody here in the room that's supporting, it is also the District of Tumbler Ridge, huge in this. So securing funding, we've gotten, and in your pamphlet in front of you, it'll show you where the funding's come from and the amounts. Conducted surveys with the clubs, so each club has been asked what they can do, how this would help them, what would they like to see done within all 4 of the major clubs here related to trails in the region. So, conducted strategic planning sections, So this is going forward for planning and seeing what we can get done for the future for all of the clubs and what we can do to enhance what we already have, as well as maintain and continue drawing the recreation people to our area. Strengthened relationship between the clubs. So this is where we like to be a little bit more closer knit, where we can host events together. We can utilize each members of volunteer groups, whether it's in the summer or the winter, to do maintenance on specific projects. So maybe say, for example, mountain bike club, we won't just primarily work on just mountain bike trails. We will help out with moving bridges or helping with the Wolverine North Mountain Society, or like the ATV club could help out with maintaining some trails in the wintertime, you know, just because of access is a little easier in the summertime with ATVs and stuff like that. So started the partnership with external bodies. This here is to deal with a lot with rec sites and trails. BC Parks is another big one that we've had with our AGM just recently. They actually showed up, so they showed support, and that was very encouraging, as well as a lot of community members who are coming to see what we're all about. So that's a very important aspect there. Prepare to hire an executive director. So this is an ongoing process, and Ryan can talk a bit more about this because he's part of that committee, the hiring committee. There is 3 individuals working on that, and that is coming up fairly soon. We could talk about that in a little bit. Engage in at least 20 events 10, sorry. 20.
Whoa, I don't remember
We
the
gotta
other
get a
10.
move on. 10's a lot. So, and it's in your pamphlet as well. They support it in different avenues, so even going to Edmonton for the ATV show, right? Yeah, and helping out the grand opening of the bike trails and stuff like that, so. Engage in webinars, surveys, online roundtables, workshops throughout BC. So a lot of this is gone with district staff, so Adriana, Jesse, they've been going to a lot of workshops with that tie in and work well with what TRORA is trying to achieve, which is huge because then they can pass that on to all of our groups and our organizations. So it's been pretty impressive to get emails come across and say, hey, this might be something that you're interested in. It might be an information session or grant funding, so where maybe each group wouldn't be aware of. So that's been very, very helpful. We could talk about some of the events. So a very good one that happened was the Food Forge workshop. Oh, we gotta move this thing. It's the wrong way. Okay, it's still the wrong way.
You got it.
There we go. Food Forge workshop was a success. We guided hike to TP Falls. Also to Chloe Falls, support in the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society work bees. There was, I believe, three work bees this year for Wolverine. But yeah, I think there's quite a few that were attended there. So this might actually be more than 10 events. The Alberta Snow Show, in conjunction with the Geopark, the Oscar Cruiser event, which was again, that's the second year now. And that's also following up with other potential events in the future, as well as some offshoots of other companies that were very interested in coming here. Emperor's Challenge, of course, so in different aspects of the support there was just helping with registration or on the mountain and planning for next year as well. Community registration, so are we gonna talk about a little bit of the mass community registration tonight? We won't, but we have an idea there, so we could also bring that back to you guys. Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm asking that question now.
Yeah, that's. So support with the downhill trails as well as the jump park was really good because we had the downtown area right across the pump track closed off, and then it had the support of the Geopark with their trailer there, TRORA, Mountain Bike Club, and anybody else, and of course the Lions Club. So there's a lot of other groups coming together with that. Yeah, and then strategic planning with the clubs. So this is very important with Trails Master Plans. So obviously the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society is revamping theirs, coming up with a new one. the mountain bike club has done one. We are actually going to renew it and get something more up to date and maybe make a few changes there up on the ridge. So that'll be coming down the road as well. I guess I can keep talking. All right, so connecting oh yeah, this thing here. Connecting beyond trails, connected with outdoor recreation and tourism bodies. So this is Northern BC Tourism, Recreation BC. There's quite a few. Jesse would have a list probably longer than we have time for tonight to go through with all of who we can actually reach out to and talk to about what we can do here. Another big one would be like something that we're trying to attain, be more alike is Varda, the Valemont. So that's very similar. Exchange updates, resources, relevant outdoor recreation, British Columbia. So that's where a lot of these webinars and online meetings happen. Participate in meetings, roundtables, workshops, and surveys. We've done one up in Fort St. John, I think I've attended. Jesse's probably done quite a few more. So highlights, monthly outdoor recreation roundtables. So that's within TRORA ourselves, trying to see what we can accomplish and moving forward. Provincial recreational strategy engagement sessions. I have not attended any of those. The Outdoor Recreation Council of BC is the huge one there. So, and they do those quite often. So, and I think the last one, there was over 350 people on the call. Was that right? Different one? Different one? Webinar on the Outdoor Recreation Rural BC Communities. I did not partake on that one as well. Webinar BC Outdoor Recreation Economy, Outdoor Recreation Fund Survey. So this is where we could look at tap into funding. So. All right, finances. There's more detailed information in your packages, but successful grant applications and funding efforts. So this is to get the group up and going, as well as potentially get an executive director in position. So raised over 150,000. So there was a few locals, organizations, companies that has helped us out there. And the key partnerships established, so we are working with everyone we can at this time to get the word out and what we are up to. And commitment to transparency, so we would like to answer any questions that you may have and that the public may have. We're an open door, so if you have ideas and so forth, we're always open ears.
I can touch base on the ED position. So there's 3 on the hiring committee. We've had, it was a pretty slow start for applicants. We didn't have very many that was, well, some of them were just clicking Indeed and saying, hi company. So there was no emphasis on trying anyways. But the last round was really good. And we got some stellar folks. I'm really excited. We meet Thursday to go over those applicants and maybe start conducting some interviews. Pretty exciting. So, and that's all possible from the South Peace Mackenzie Trust Fund. That's one of our biggest supporters.
And that is to be, we emphasize on being local.
Oh yeah, well yeah. We're hiring local. We're trying to. But any questions?
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation, coming in and introducing yourselves and the members and stuff like that, and giving an update to council and residents. But Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Thanks for coming in, everybody. You know, my first interaction with the idea of TRORA was when the community forest supported this organization, and from my side, I just get really excited about collaboration. You know, seeing all the groups working together, it just shows like a forward-thinking forethought to get everybody together, because all the organizations that are represented, there's a lot of crossover in the outdoor recreation realm, right? So seeing that happen, I'm really excited for. I don't really have any questions because I know you guys are going to bring something to our community because, you know, your organization brings value brings a higher value product to the region and our community. So good for you guys. Look forward to seeing what you're going to do.
Thanks, Chris.
Councillor Jilek?
I really enjoyed the presentation. Pictures are awesome, of course, because that's just where we live, right? I appreciated you mentioning Trace. I remember the first time I got to see the graphics that Jesse had made up and the idea behind it, and I thought it was amazing. Maybe once your ED gets started, Tim won't have to monitor the Facebook pages quite as much. And Trent on the WNMS or whoever's monitoring that, probably Jolene as well. Because, yeah, like any of the stuff that I see on there, you know, people are wanting information about snow already, of which we have none. And things like that, the ATV trails, keeping people honest about where they're supposed to be riding and where they're not supposed to be riding. So I think the collaboration's going to be amazing to take off some of the pressure off of one group. It's just really great. So I appreciate everybody putting their time in. And while I sit here, I often feel like I'm useless over there, except for one-off things. So feel free to call on me and say, hey, we need somebody to move some wood around or something. So thanks again for coming in and doing the hard work.
Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. And thanks for coming in. It's really great to hear what the organization's doing. I heard about TRORA's initial idea way back when I sat on the WNMS, and it was kind of one of those, like, they want to do what? They want us to join another meeting. So it was a bit of a bizarre thing, and we looked at what Fernie had done with a similar organization, and now seeing what you guys have made this organization into is really exciting because everyone has the same goal: sustainable outdoor recreation. So good to see the collaboration there. So thanks for coming in, and thanks for doing all the hard work.
Any other council comments, questions? All right, yeah, myself, I just want to thank you guys. I mean, obviously, it's great to see it come to fruition. I mean, we've heard about it. I think you got a great group that are working together to better the outdoors for all of us, whether we ATV, snowmobile, hike, and, you know, obviously staff's involved. And I think it's a great opportunity to have that, and can't wait to hear who you hire, how that assists you guys instead of, you know, obviously everybody's volunteering, you're burning yourselves out on all the organizations you guys do and then trail maintenance and stuff. But I think it's great. I think, you know, if we can do anything from our side, just reach out. So thank you very much.
Thanks. I just want to say thank you for Adriana, Jesse, Tim, everybody else, Amanda, Jolene, everybody. You guys rock.
Okay, moving on to reports. 6.1 flatbed campground operating agreement. Flatbed campground operating agreement presented at the request of council. Recommendation, please. Have a good night.
Mass exodus.
Councillor Noxana.
That council receives the flatbed campground operating agreement for discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Clickash. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. So we heard the Lions come in and discuss what they wanted, and I would agree what they proposed made sense, that their agreement stands with 20% of funding, or 20% of profits after expenses. And I can't remember what else he had asked for.
Councillor Nober.
Thank you, Mayor Kakelka. I would concur with Councillor Noxana. One of the requests that they had was to allow for some renovations to be done to assets they have down there. I would like to allow operators, you know, to have that opportunity because it's going to save us money, right? If they're going to, you know, the Lions had funds put aside for improvements and renovations, and without forgetting the fact that it does need to go through the district to make sure that it is approved. Right? And I think that's, as long as they can meet those requirements of, they can have a certified contractor down there They chat with our people to make sure that existing changes, planned changes, won't have any negative effects on the building. So, I'd like to see that added in contracts moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Clickash?
Yes, I think they were asking for that the rates be bumped up, to $30 a night or something like that. So I think that's one of the things they were looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's coming up in our fees and charges bylaw. So that was something we talked about before. But yeah, you're 100% right. That was one of the asks from the organization. But I think staff's captured that with that fees and charges bylaw when it comes forward. Anything else, Councillor Clickash?
No, it's good.
Councillor Julik?
A couple of things in here, and I'm going to have to scroll through. I need to figure out a better way besides scrolling. I'm a little concerned with, shouldn't say I'm concerned. I feel like it is not the responsibility of the Lions Club to do upgrades to the campground. And I think if we're going to allow that, we need to be consistent with the two campgrounds that we have caretakers on. I believe that the property belongs to the District of Tumbler Ridge, so we need to be the ones that are responsible for those pieces. I would be very hesitant for us to not be bearing the brunt of the financial responsibility for that. Because there's stuff that we likely have to do to a certain degree based on the Community Charter and the Municipal Government Act, a certain level of things. That's neither here nor there. I feel like that's the responsibility of the district. It's their property and they should be paying for it. I have no problem with the operators coming forward and saying these are some things that we need to get done. And once we got that in order, like once there was a kind of a regular report, then that would be easy enough to address come budget times. I'm looking at the operating system or the operating agreement. So page 41 of this, number 5, it talks about seasonal startup and shutdown. And it says that the operator should be responsible for the startup and shutdown, which I'm not comfortable with. Those are, again, our infrastructure, and I feel like the district should be in charge of that. Just because I think that it's something that is our infrastructure, and those are the times that maybe that stuff would be noticed when they were putting, like particularly winterizing. Because if that doesn't happen, then that can cause some pretty serious issues in the shower house and stuff. And that's just my opinion at this moment. The other thing, so on page 42, 17D.
Okay, let's go to, let's
All
share
right.
it. If that's all right?
Yep.
We can just share and we'll come back and,
All right.
okay. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I would like to see a little bit more of an allowance for range in both the fees, instead of telling them you're going to charge X amount, that we actually have a range for them, or leave it up to them. We're hiring operators. I don't know why we need to make every nitpicky decision on it. We provide the capital, the location, and they do the operations. So for me, I don't know where we want to define the lines. If you need to do repairs, if you want to do improvements that improve your revenue, I don't want to really stand in the way. I want to know what's going on, and if we don't want to do it, that's fine. But if they have the initiative and they want to improve their revenues while using the campgrounds that are inappropriate for the campgrounds, I would like to see them be able to do it. Now, next year, I expect that manpower issues are probably going to keep them from renovating the place. But I would like to give them as much flexibility as they could possibly want within the contract to make repairs and upkeep. I would like to see the fact that we have a relatively streamlined way for them to make improvements that they see fit if they're going to operate it for 5 years. And I'd like to just let them know we trust them to do what they feel is best. And if they need help, then to ask us. If winterizing is an issue, then tell us it's an issue. If they mess it up, they're responsible. I don't think they need us to hold their hands. But that's just it. I'd like to give all our operators of all our sites and all our stuff as much flexibility for them to run their places as they see fit, and that's what the contract's for. They're operating, and we hold the asset. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I like the idea of giving them some of the control. They came with a really good plan to do their renovations. Whether we provide some capital for that or not, that's a different discussion, but giving them that option to do the renovations themselves with a proper contractor ensures that they have what they need to operate successfully. They're there all the time. We aren't. We can't say, oh, you're fine with this or that. They know what they need to operate successfully. They can cost it out. They can hire the contractors. Then they get what they want out of it.
Okay, I got myself and then Councillor Norbury. So just one comment on the number 5 on page 41. When it says about winterizing, I'm well aware that previously to being on council, I used to sit on the board of the Lions Club, but I'm still a member of the Lions Club, is the winterization of the water system is all done by the District of Tumbler Ridge. The Tumbler Ridge does winterize the facility and then brings it back online come spring. So they do the startup of the water system at the Lions Campground. They also do it at the other 2 campground operations that we have we have a contractor for the other one, and then the other one's run by staff. Now, when we talk about, and it's in here, when we talk about maintenance, repair, and existing improvements, and so on page 42 of 12, states how they're allowed to do certain things. And I think when they came before and talked to staff, I wasn't in the staff meeting, I think they brought forward what their thoughts were. They were using a contractor. And to me, the Lions have take a lot of care and passion in the campground. Previously, the campground being taken over by the Lions Club, it was a contractor that was just paid by the District of Tumbler Ridge. All the fees were handed into Tumbler Ridge, stuff like that. It was paid out by a monthly fee. The park started to go away. I used to camp there quite a bit. So it was, to me, I was in the Lions Club as a member. That's when the decision was either to come and take over, ask about taking the campground back for the Lions Club or remove our Lions Club sign. So my understanding, and to me, I think staff needs to look way back when that park was first built, when it became the Lions Campground, because there was a sign there. I moved here in 2007, and it said the Lions Campground, Tumbler Ridge Lions Club Campground. So my understanding, that's why the Lions took it over. I know I was on the board then. I came in as a delegation, and I think that's why they have so much passion and care. So there's things they've done down there, the woodshed that was built by the Lions Club with money they raised from the camping fees throughout the year. Anything they've done that I know of when I was a member, or an active member, is it was always come through the district and get approval, just like they did too with the renovation they want to do in the building they had down there. And to me, I don't think, they budgeted for that for a reason, because they care and they want to do it. So I understand when Councillor Tulik, you talk about our assets, and I don't disagree, but to me, if they come in and get permission from staff, and staff are fine with what they're doing and the realm of what they're doing, and it's going to better off the building, and they want to do it at their expense, I don't see why we would handcuff them from not being able to make that building work better for what they're using it for. Whether it's a small office or storage for when they have all their picnic stuff, I think that's what they were looking at, better spot for their freezers and stuff like that. But that was my understanding of the delegation. Councillor Norbury, then Councillor Clickash.
Thank you, Mayor Kukelka. For myself, I think we have a lot of trust in the Lions Club to operate down there. They've been doing it for such a long time. And I think in this situation, because we have such a long-standing relationship with the Lions, we can allow for a little bit of, allowances because they've built so much trust. And in situations like this, I'd prefer to be more hands-off than hands-on, because anytime we're more hands-on, it requires staff time, it requires funding, resources that we may not have. And if somebody has shown the ability to do a good job down there, nothing's perfect, then we should be trying to accommodate them in their efforts. And, by allowing that trust to grow, we could really see some innovation. And that's what I'm hoping that we could see, because once we start getting too into the restrictions and rules, we may stifle that. And I know the Lions have a passion for what's going on down there, and it's starting to show in their changes. So I want to do everything we can to keep this a good partnership for all of us moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Clickass, then Councillor Jilek.
Yes, Your Worship. One thing, that's a floodplain down there, and I think that we should have a little bit of control over any kind of building or anything that goes on there. It should either be engineered to a level or whatever, so that they can move ahead and build it. But once we've done that, well, I think they should be able to take it all over. Yeah, they do a great job, and I know I was around and worked with them in the past, and you know, there was never been any real big problems. But the old buildings and wiring and things like that have come up from time to time, but that's because of age, and it's not their fault or responsibility for that. So I think the town has to be involved a little bit, probably with the building inspector or something, to establish a level above the floodplain, right? So that and another thing is we're planning on doing a lot of work down there in the around the Flatbed Creek and that, and that's probably going to disrupt them big time this summer. If we're going ahead with it this summer, I think it is. But that would really disrupt their operations there. So they're going to have to put up with something, I guess. You know? Or we'll have to make some allowances for that. That's it. Good.
Councillor Jilek.
Sorry. You'd think I'd be used to this system already. I just want to make it abundantly clear that it is not anything against the Lions Club in anything that I've said here tonight. I am a big supporter of the Lions Club. They're a big supporter of our town. I agree that they take a lot of pride in the campground. I think we have to keep in mind that we have 3 assets in our community, and they need to be consistent. I feel like we lose a lot of consistency in here. We forget that there are things that have to be held to a certain standard simply because we are a municipality. I think that staff does an amazing job. I also think that the Lions Club is a volunteer club, and they have a lot of stuff on their plate, and the last thing they need to do is go and research the municipal act or the community charter or anything like that, floodplains. That's my desire for them to come to council. When I ran the RV park, I did a report and said, I think we need more picnic tables, I think we need this, I think we need that. Council made a decision, it was done. It wasn't a big deal. So far as fees and services go, again, 3 properties that we need to be consistent with. And to just give free rein to one club puts them at risk and it puts us at risk. And so I am not in favor of that. The agreement that we have right now is from 2015. That makes it 7 years old, which probably means it needs to be looked at again. And that's some of the things that I have in here. Like, so one of them is engaging a qualified accountant. I never did that at the RV park, so that means our operating agreements are different. Probably it doesn't get looked at. As Mayor Kakauka said, the winterizing has been done by the district forever, but it's still in this contract. So I think that those are some things we need to look at. I'm just looking because I think I had one more thing within the agenda on the act. Maybe I don't. The other thing is on the covenant in favor of Her Majesty the Queen, which is no longer Her Majesty the Queen, it's His Majesty the King. That only came to mind because I recognize I have some stuff I need to do my own paperwork. So, so far as the, and I'm bringing this all up because I'm figuring this is the only opportunity I'm going to have before staff goes back to work on it. Because the other thing is if the Lions want to build a building for themselves, by all means, let's let them do that with their funding. If that building is movable and that they can take that with them, that we would expect them to use their own revenue when they use their revenues to support so much other stuff within the community, that maybe wouldn't have that funding otherwise, that's where I think it's the responsibility of the district to be the people who take care of their own assets. Like, it's not the clubs that operate this, it's not the people that operate this, this is the responsibility of the district. So, while I absolutely agree that we want to give the operators as much free rein as we can, I think we need to be consistent. That we have 3 campgrounds and that we're consistent throughout. We can't have one campground deciding on their fees and charges directly in conflict with one of our other ones, especially if it's a big, broad change. Like, I don't think that that makes sense. So anyways, one of those things I'm passionate about again, so thanks for listening.
It's okay to be passionate, that's why we're all here. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. Just going to respond to that first. I just fundamentally disagree with that in mind. I think we set the standard. We have a standard minimal expectations, but if an organization is showing year after year that they operate at a higher level than other organizations, I am more than happy to give them more opportunities to see what they want to do. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I like the idea of the previous round where we talked about what we're going to do as a standard across the board or how we're going to set the bar. I do think we need to do that at some point here. But when we have a club that's been operating for a long time and shows that they're competent and shows that they know what they're doing, I am much happier to take my hands off the wheel and risk it. Because in the end, this is an operations contract, so whoever we hire is ultimately responsible for what's going on that site. And yes, if they gum up the works significantly, we're going to pay for it in the end, which is why I don't think we should hold the standards to exactly the same. So we'll leave it at that. Of course, if you want to respond, that's fine. I'm going to stop right there, and hopefully in the future we'll have that discussion out for our contracts. What I press the button for is a question for staff on number 19, adjustments to operating fees. Is there a requirement for us to be revenue neutral? And is that why it's there, or is that something that was put in at some point because that's a council decided that we're going to try to be revenue neutral on these things? So page 43 of 59 or page 4 of the contract, number 19. It's about the center of the page.
Mr. Orville, I'm just wondering if, I think some of the things, and I was going to make a comment after Councillor Noxana that we send us back to staff to have a go through. And, you mentioned some changes. I have the same changes marked here and stuff like that. And I think, some of this agreement might be from the previous, when we had it previous contracted out, and sometimes we just duplicate the agreements and we don't read right through them all. And I think that's everywhere. I see the same thing at the PRRD when we go through them, but I'm not sure if Mr. Orville will have an answer or not.
I can attempt an answer, Council. I believe it is important that we should be revenue neutral throughout each renewal term. That is to say that we don't want either side to be in debt, right? During either term. So if we can maintain that, we're not saying we're not here to make money, but yet at the same time we don't want to go the other way. So that's what I'm going to offer as my comment tonight on that piece without further looking into it.
Okay. So, and the reason I make the comment that this may have been just added in from the previous agreement, there was a set amount paid out every month, no matter if anybody camped at the campground or not. To me, the Lions Club have a different establishment there when it comes to that. So I think sometimes, and Councillor Julich mentioned it, I think, I'll wait till Councillor Noxana's done, but I have a comment to make. You're good, Councillor Hoffman?
I would just say that I think at the very least then we should renew what that looks like, because I am not morally opposed to the town making a little bit of revenue on these sorts of things for those times when we don't, as it were. So depending exactly what that means on how that's structured, I would, and maybe not for this contract specifically, but in that sort of overarching sense of when we're going to standardize or look to standardize, I'd like to look at that, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. So in the interest of not wanting to stifle the Lions' creativity or passion for the campground, they have big ideas that they want to accomplish there, absolutely. But we don't want them to go in the hole or fundraise for our assets. Is there a possibility of, in our contract, we have X% of the profits that they would turn into us every year can go back into asset management? So that's a separate fund that they can utilize for renovations or whatever, and it comes out of our 20%. Is that even allowed?
Yeah, I think we'd have to have a look into that. And I think the reason the district gets a certain piece back is to pay the offset cost for winterizing, springing, and stuff like that. I think that's to try to offset the labor costs that are down there. There isn't, like, I mean, I gotta be careful because I'm not active there, so I don't want to speak on behalf of the Lions, and I'm not sure if Council DeSoto does, and I haven't camped down there for a while. I do go down there quite often, but they took ownership because it had their name on it. I remember myself when we came as a delegation, so it was whatever could we do to make that place look like it should for the Lions Club. Lions Club have a lot of heart, a lot of drive. So to me, when when I was a very active member and on the board, we never used any funds out of our own funds to do anything at the campground. It was all from whatever we received in from campground. So the revenue there is fairly high because people support it. Like the campground is full pretty much all summer long. One, people support the Lions Club. It doesn't matter what community you live in, if there's a Lions Club, it's well supported because of what they do for communities. But again, there's the passion of the group of people here that oversee it and the group as a whole. So, I mean, I think they're fairly busy. Even with not having water, sewer, or power, people usually leave that up, but. Go ahead.
So a follow-up, their revenue does go back into the community. So I get that they don't use their general bank account for the campground, but can we use a separate pot, like a brand new pot for that?
I think council can put in play whatever they would like in direction to staff to see if it's viable for one, and if it's legal through the charter.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I would say there. I don't disagree with you.
I have no idea about the legalities. Or,
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
It's not my realm. Follow up?
Yeah, we're wondering what the legalities are on that, but it might take more digging than just.
Yeah, I don't know. Ms. Torval might be able to answer.
Okay, so through the mayor.
Yep.
Thank you. So could get clarity on that question again, like setting up funds or a separate account for the revenues?
Yeah, so out of our section of the revenue, are we allowed to set up a separate pot? So whether it's 2% of revenues, 5%, whatever, that pot goes back into asset management. So upgrading the shower house, adding sites.
Don't have the specifics on this right now, but I do know that whenever there is work done down there, it gets coded to the various whichever campground it is, when there's staff going down doing work, it gets coded to their codes, whether it's the Lions Club, Monkman RV Park, the golf course. So there is, there's money that needs to be spent to cover materials, supplies, and of course wages. So, but I could look into further to see what we could do.
This would specifically be a pot for the Lions to access to do their upgrades. So they wanted to do an upgrade to the shower house and build an office and things in there. But using their own money for it. So if we could switch that to district money.
I think that's a discussion that would have to be had with the Lions and a further discussion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got myself, then Councilor Norbury. So I guess my comments would be back to Ms. Torval, but my thoughts here is just sending this back to staff to have it cleaned up. Some changes made. I mean, obviously there's been some comments here. I mean, we can vote on these changes. But even just have it looked at and cleaned up a bit, maybe some things removed that don't need to be here, or have it accurately stated, whether it's the winterization, just so council's looking at a true, what we would be looking at for. And to me, I understand where Council Jewis coming from, that they should be the same, but they're actually two different campgrounds. It doesn't matter to me about what organization runs the campground, but they're two different campgrounds. One has power, one has water and sewer available for trailers, hookups, one doesn't. So to me, they need to be, we need to have, because I don't think that, and it's not staff. I just think it's been this contract's been kept for, since 2015, but it was probably before that as well, that this contract was just taken from the previous way that it was ran and just put into place and just names changed and jingled around. So to me, I think it just needs to be revamped. Ms. Torval, do you need a motion for that?
Thank you, Mayor, and to the council. No, we won't need a motion for this, but we will definitely review it and clean it up and bring it back when it's time for renewal, which is in about a year. So we have a little bit of time to work on this.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norbury, then Councilor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor Kukaka. To Councilor Oksana, I think there's a couple mechanisms that we could be looking at as creation of a bylaw, like we were talking about the water fund bylaw. But I think we learned from that, the pitfalls of that is that if we earmark it for that specific purpose only, you know, those funds could be lost for an indeterminate amount of time. So that could be a challenge. The other one that we are also familiar with is the asset management policy, right? Where we put aside money every year to replace infrastructure. I think that's a potential, you know, for buildings. We'll take that in our inventory. You know, some of the conversation that we've had about, you know, funds being used, I don't think it's appropriate for us to tell an organization how they and if they could use their funds. I can appreciate when I advocate for an organization to say, hey guys, you know, this is our role. We don't want you to spend money that you could use for a better altruistic purpose. But if an organization came to say, you know, this is something we want to do, I applaud them. I think that's great. If any organization said, we have these funds, we'd like to make these upgrades, you know, why? I'd hate to tell them what they can or cannot do with the funds that they've raised. Like they could be grant funded, it could be other ways. So I think we should be careful in telling organizations how they should spend their money.
Councilor Julik and then Councilor Hoffman.
I guess I wasn't clear because I never at any point thought that we would be telling them how to spend their money. My point was I didn't think that they should have to spend their revenues upgrading District of Tumbler Ridge assets. I think that that's the District of Tumbler Ridge's job. I think that it needs to be clear that if they want to make changes, and if it is specifically to District of Tumbler Ridge infrastructure, that it needs to come through the town hall in some capacity, and that needs to be in the lease agreement. I know they've already spent money of their own someplace else. I don't have a problem. I have no desire to tell them how to spend their money. I'm just saying they shouldn't have to spend their revenues on District of Tumbler Ridge infrastructure. And so far as the consistency around the agreements, it's more about, I absolutely understand that, like, the three operations are completely different. What I see though is that firewood is given out at the RV or at the golf course, but it costs money at the Lions campground. And so it's stuff like that to me is where we need to be consistent, particularly since the district one is district run. So we're giving firewood out, but yet we have another organization that you have to pay for firewood. So to me, that's where I'm looking for consistencies. It's the, I don't, like if the Lions wanted to make some changes to the shower house, for example, if they didn't have something to come in to talk to us about, there could be doubling up of things. So they might be looking to make some changes that the district staff has already come to us and said, hey, I think this needs to be done because we're past the point of whatever. So I think that those pieces have to be in there for our operators. I by no means am saying that I don't think they should have some oversight of what's going on there, because they absolutely know more about what's going on there than district staff. And I appreciate Councillor Oksana bringing that up, because I remember that being at the RV park. And to expect that staff would have the knowledge that the operators have, I don't think is reasonable. So I think that's it. I just think it's really important that we're consistent, and I don't think that we are consistent, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just where we are, and when you get a few different eyes looking at stuff, then you get a few different ideas. So anyways, thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I thought one of the points of looking at this is what their fees will be for next year, since this is still in effect for another year. I don't know if anything's been done on that front or if we can change this, but I'm not going to do a motion at this point because I'm not sure if it's appropriate. But I think somebody needs to reach out to the Lions, staff and the Lions need to sort of pick a number or pick a range of numbers or something where they can say, can we have this number for next year so that we can amend this contract for that year? We're already going to the rewriting of the whole thing and trying to do a form, but I think we can't drop that issue that was brought up a few weeks ago. going forward. So I guess I'm asking staff, do you need a motion, or can that be showing up in the next couple of months?
Yeah, so I'll go to Ms. Torval. That again, that'll be coming back in the fees and charges bylaw,
Fair enough.
right? So,
Yep,
we know
that's
we
right.
gave that direction now. We're just waiting for them to do their work.
And now I'm glad.
But I'll just confirm it.
Not a motion.
No problem. Yeah, we won't need one because they already have that, but Ms. Torval, I just want to confirm that.
Yes, that is correct, Mayor.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for that to come back, and that'll have a, I guess, consistency, because we asked for the same thing, in regards to whether it was Monkman, the golf course, and the Lions Club's, Lions Campground. Councillor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to the firewood, who supplies the firewood for Monkman RV Park?
Contractor.
A contractor? Okay. The Lions are the ones that go out and get the firewood themselves, and they supply that firewood. So that is probably why, with their labor and whatnot, that is why they charge for the firewood.
So, Councillor Julik was talking about the golf course, campground.
Oh, the golf course.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
sorry.
again, there was a whisper there, but, previously, previous contractor dealt with the fire pits and stuff like that, different at Monkman. But at the golf course right now, it's ran by the municipality, and I guess there's talk that it's free firewood if you stay there. That I can't confirm, but if it is, it's just something that needs to be looked at. If same thing would be district labor going and get trees out of the bush. So, and I think that's what Councillor Julik was talking about. So it's just something we got to look into, and maybe there's a reasoning for it.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
think
not
that
sure.
information just got to come back to council.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the reason is for charging for the firewood, but I guess that's something we could probably ask them.
Yeah, well, I think the Lions charge because, again, like you said, they go and get it and stuff. They built a woodshed for that reason. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Okay, so, again, just confirming to Mr. Torval, no motion needed, but staff will have a look at this, maybe clean it up a bit, and then bring it back. I know, like you said, we have a year, there's some time there, but previous to this coming back, to fees and charges by law will come back sooner than that, and that can be redone, as Councillor Hoffman mentioned. Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 6.2, the Chetwynd Highway Junction signage. Report dated December 11th, 2023, from the Director of Economic and Community Development regarding the Chetwynd Highway Junction signage. Recommendation. Councillor Norbert.
For discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Julik. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Councillor Norbert, sorry.
Realize I have to speak first if I move it for discussion. Yeah, I definitely think we need to upgrade the sign out there. It's getting a little old. Looking at all the options, I think option B is a great option for us. Mostly because when you look at all of the costs added up, option C is kind of what we have outside of town already. It's going to cost $28,000. Ooh, excuse me. It's going to cost an indeterminate amount of money. And then, with all the foundation work, it's gonna bring that cost right up to, I think, near the option B, which I think would be a great thing to showcase as you're driving on that highway past Chetwynd. I think that's a real eye turner, and I think it's okay to have something a little different outside of the community. So, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. My only question is, we have the mock-ups here, will the sign have an arrow or 97 kilometers that way? I'm assuming these are just mock-ups. This isn't the final design, but yeah.
Ms. Torval? Looking for a directional sign pointing to Tumbler Ridge, south.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will ask Ms. Olson if that's been considered.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so in the report last time that this came forward, quite a few years ago now, that was pointed out as one of the things that were missing from that sign. So yes, can definitely go back into the design phase of this. I foresee we could run into some issues with the size of that sign with MODI. Their rules around what is allowed on the side of highways have become a lot more stringent since these designs were created. So throughout this process, it'll be working with MODI, permitting, and yes, some more revisions, I'm sure.
Thank you. All up, you're good? Councillor Julik?
Hi. I have a few questions, and I think some of it is possibly to go back to another report. When I look at the cost of these signs, which I knew they were going to be high, maybe not knowing they were going to be quite this high, and it's probably not out of the realm. It's just out of my realm of what costs some. Anyway, so some of the signs or the question I have, Ms. Olson's answered. It's obviously Modi property, and there's going to be, it's all about that, which means we don't need to connect with the District of Chetwynd. I was wondering what it would just cost to remove. And the other thing I wondered was maybe getting some information back about the cost of these signs versus another type of promotion of Tumbler Ridge. Does it make sense to spend the $40,000? And it's just, it's curiosity for me. I think ECDEV and I think Ms. Olson has been part of the tourism stuff so far. So I feel like that department would have a better idea. I just would like to I would like to empower that department to come forward and say, this isn't the way to go. I think we're better off to spend the money someplace else. Or to come back and say, yes, I absolutely think that the sign needs to be changed. Because I'm not scared of spending the money. I just want to be sure that we're spending it in the right place.
Okay. You have a direct question there? Sorry, like you're talking about maybe looking for a report, and that's the only thing I want to get clarity on that, because I don't want to ask about if they want us to ask for a report.
Fair. I would like to know what it would cost to just remove that sign, if that is possible to get that number. And I would like to, I wonder if senior staff, if Ms. Torville could connect with Ms. Olson, or if Ms. Olson's ready to answer that question tonight, if she sees a better way of spending the money versus the signs.
Ms. Torville, would we have a cost in regards to removing the signage, just removing it in a base, because there is already a base there, a cement base?
There won't be a cost tonight. I don't have the cost available tonight. Ms. Olson? No. Okay.
Okay, and then just in regards, I guess, we're asking staff what their opinion is this the best way, or is there a better way?
We could probably have to discuss this further and look at some different options.
Okay.
Possibly.
Just, I think, are you mentioning the Iconics signage strategy through Destination BC?
Possibly that, but even when there was the billboard campaign that you had when John Powell was here and stuff, like, I'm just wondering if that kind of advertising makes more sense versus just like $80,000 on well, or whatever, probably upwards of $80,000. And then of course there's the fact that we wouldn't have a sign coming from Dawson Creek. So then so it's that kind of stuff. So yes, I'm just wondering if there's maybe, in your opinion, a better way to put those dollars.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like there's, you can argue that both ways. I do think that there would be value in showing our branding at that highway sign, the geopark specifically. I will say those numbers in the report, I foresee them being actually quite a bit higher than is what is in there. In a very rough estimate from people who worked on the previous welcome signage project, they just said total guess twice as much as one of the welcome signs. So I think it's something that we'll just have to look into this further. And again, like I said, I'm not sure what Modi will approve. That sign option B is 18 feet tall in that estimate. So yeah, I think it's something to investigate a little bit further at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, my opinion with council was to send it back to staff for them to actually dig into it, was in regards to Modi. So PRRD has been just been acknowledged that they have to remove all their Peace River Regional District signs by Modi. They do not meet their, who knows if it's changed or whatever, whether it's because they haven't been updated and I mean, there's a couple of them that don't look the greatest. We're not sure. We didn't get that whole information, but it did come out that Modi has requested that all 6 Peace Regional District signs be removed from the highways. So whether it's too close, so to me, that's what we need to be looking at is have a staff reach back out because this could all change. We might be allowed a little yellow sign that says Tumbler Ridge that way. We don't know. You know, I mean, it's probably good that we held off previously when we talked about signage because we could have spent a lot of money and then still had to remove some very expensive signs if Modi is now getting more involved in it. And we don't know the reasons through the PRD. So I don't want to, you know, maybe it is because of their nature of lacking of maintenance. I don't know. But I think that's what we need to do is have staff reach back out, find out what they're going to allow, and then come back with council. Then we're actually talking about a real number and stuff like that. I'm going to find that out. Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Nober.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it just sounds like we're going to be holding off on this anyways. So the only thing I really wanted to say is I do very much like the style. If this is a coordinated style that's being done, I think it looks great, whether it's 9 feet, 8 feet, 2 feet, or 18 feet. I guess there's no point in getting a number until we have that sort of discussion. And I'm not sure why it didn't get considered, but I even also like the bottom of the alternate designs as well, if that's a more aesthetically appropriate or cost-effective thing. I think the stuff looks good. Can't wait to hear what our limits are, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you can always go back and listen to the sign discussion when we first talked about redoing our welcome signs with Tumbler Ridge. It was quite a lengthy conversation. But it's you'll see the reason. There's 7 different opinions. 7 different opinions. Councillor Nobre?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Yeah, I think if these numbers here are completely false, I find it very difficult to have a good discussion about these things because cost does come into play when we're having this discussion. You know, you and I were both part of that conversation about signs, and seeing these numbers, this is a good price. But if we're getting opinions that this is going to cost double, you know, we need to have good information. And you know, if they were supplying us this information in November, and it's going to cost more, yeah, we need to get better cost estimates here.
So I'll take the hit on this, not staff. So I asked staff to put this in front of council just for the discussion of it. I didn't expect the pricing and stuff. And, you know, it's not, you know, it's my fault I asked for it. They just submitted the report that was sitting there. So this has nothing to do with staff at all in regards to the numbers that we see here. I think staff is very open that you could look at double the price. We might not even be allowed that sign. So, Ms. Torval, I guess my question would be, do we need a motion to send back for a proper report?
Mayor Kirkconnell, that would be appropriate. And I just want to draw your attention to the second recommendation under your motion there. It is that council directs staff to investigate costs through the 2024 budget process. I think the main focus of this report was at the request of council to see whether or not we wanted to go with a sign at the Chetwynd Junction Highway there. So there is more work to be done on this, no doubt.
Yep, appreciate that. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor that council directs staff to investigate costs through the 2024 budget process for highway signage junction at Chetwynd. Take a seconder. Councillor Dussault, discussion. Councillor Gillick.
I guess, yeah, I think I originally was just thinking to find out what size we could have, but I guess if staff finds out the size first and then goes out to see what that looks like, unless it's, like you say, a poster stamp size that we're allowed, then maybe it's not an expense for us, it's an expense for Modi that they just put up a sign saying Tumbler Ridge. So you're right, I'll just leave it with the expertise of the staff with just my 2 cents saying I'm perfectly okay just finding out what size we're allowed to even have there. And I am interested on what it would cost to, well, maybe once the investigation starts, they'll tell us we have to move it if they've told the PRD they've had to. So I'll just shut up now.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Modi. Ours might be valid because of where it's located. We're probably on Chetwynd, District of Chetwynd's property. Modi's access, so I mean, obviously they have that, but there might be a reasoning there, and I don't want to think, but I think the reason I put the motion on the floor is to give staff the direction to look at this. I mean, we want to have it for budget discussion 2024, so they'll be able to reach out to Modi, find out the size, and maybe the size is still relevant. We're the actual size there, but it's gone up by $8,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, and we need to decide something. I mean, we've done an awesome job, our staff's done an awesome job rebranding the community with signage, and when we have other signages added, that rebrand seems to follow through. And I think when we had a bit of a discussion earlier, does that make anybody turn off Highway 29 to come up to Tumbler Ridge? Or sorry, Highway 97 onto Highway 29? Maybe, maybe not, but to me, I think what could happen there with proper signage is people Google you and find out who you are. Some people don't know everything about Tumbler Ridge, so I think we need to make sure we're out there. I mean, we're the horseshoe of the piece, and I think whatever we can do to get tourists to come up to visit us, once they get here, the people stay. I mean, we've seen it all year. So, Councillor Clickash.
That's why we need the sign also at Highway 52, because if they miss the one in Chetwynd going flying by at 70 clicks, well, they can always get the other one and go down. Right? So we should look at both locations, not just one.
Yeah, and I think once we get the price, we'll kind of have an idea and what's allowed. It's the same Modi.
Two separate looks and two separate locations.
You want to do an amendment? Put the amendment up.
That we look at both Highway 52 entrance from
Dawson?
I don't know what the highway is.
97.
97, and also from Highway 29.
Okay. I'll second your amendment. Discussion on the amended motion. Call the question. All in favor on the amendment? Motion carries. Okay. Any more discussion on the amended motion? Okay. Call the question. All in favor on the amended motion? Motion carries. Oh, boy. All right, take adjournment. Councillor Knox-Zena.
That the December 11th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Motion carries.
Bye.